Farms are usually associated with muck and smells, more so than romance and wedding bells. But recent changes to wedding laws mean that cattle barns and hay sheds could be set to become the coolest locations for couples on their big day. Paddy O'Toole works for one of Ireland's largest grain merchants in Wicklow, as well as owning a 135-acre farm outside Aughrim.
My mother fell in love with Ballybeg and succeeded in buying Ballybeg and the farm back in the late 40s. Now, my father was a local school teacher, was not a farmer, so for many years both he and my mother rented the land to local farmers. While I was brought up and reared on a farm and have my agricultural degree, was never a farmer. When my mother died in 2001, we inherited a farm without any income. Because the land was set to local farmers for many years, there were no entitlements attaching to Ballybeg. And at that particular point in time, the prospects for farming were very gloomy. So there's no real future in trying to set up a new farming activity. So we had to look at it in a completely original and new way.
But first of all, please let them...
A few years ago, Paddy met Dominique, an interior designer, who encouraged him to renovate the family home.
I was naive enough to think by totally refurbishing the house, spending up to €150,000 on it, turning it into what I would have considered a luxury sort of self-catering apartment in beautiful surroundings, that the punters would come thronging. I was sadly disappointed and had very few punters.
Picture me up on your knee, just tea for two and two.
Dominique then suggested the potential of Ballybeg House as a wedding location.
A lot of people did think I was mad in the head, and I suppose a lot of people think I am. But we were always confident that once you had the location and once you had what we had here in Ballybeg, which I think is particularly unique, that there would be some niche market. The weddings, we put the wedding possibility into our website, and we got an outstanding response to weddings. So in the first year we had 8 or 9 weddings, and then we decided that if we had a bigger capacity, that we would get far more weddings. So we spent another $250,000 on the marquee.
Everything will take place in the marquee.
We have a permanent marquee now on site. The following year we had 22 weddings, last year we had 32 weddings, and this year you could say we're booked out because we have 45 weddings.
As the weddings have become more successful, Paddy has tried to establish the farm as a separate entity.
We try to run the farm to complement the weddings, rather than vice versa. A local man takes summer grazing on the lawn, which is 52 acres, and every summer he has that full of horses and cattle and sheep, and that adds very much to the pastoral effect and to the atmosphere of the place. My son Keane then looks after the rest of the farm. We have succeeded in acquiring a couple of good local markets with local stables for very good hay or haylage. He looks after that aspect of the business.
The personal touch and the flexibility to tailor the location to your wedding needs makes Ballybeg really special.
We didn't actually set out to get married on a farm. It wasn't our plan to, specifically have a farm. But when we were looking into places to get married and we came across Ballybeg House, the minute we came and drove down and saw the house, we just fell in love with it, and it was just the right venue for us.
On your wedding day, the whole marquee could look completely different. It depends on what you like, what your wishes are.
We didn't want to go for our hotel for the very reason that they can do it in their sleep, and it's the same thing, and it's the same food, and we just wanted something a bit more different, a bit more informal, that we would have a lot more control over. We just wanted it to be a bit more special and a bit more personal, and you just don't really get that with a lot of the hotels, and you pay a fortune for a service that's not very personal. So
I think here you have 3 main ingredients that make it very special. One is the location and the ambience. Second is the organisation of the weddings themselves. And I think also the food. The food is vitally important.
We looked at lots of different places, and as a chef I know roughly how hotels operate, and we kind of didn't want that. We found that here the service was way more flexible. I could put everything that I wanted for the food, have all the input I wanted, and to bring my own chefs in, to bring exactly the food I wanted with my own suppliers.
We also were conscious of the fact that we have very little accommodation here. We've only 2 bedrooms. So we thought an ideal addition to this venue would be an isolated sort of romantic haven for the couple to spend their first night after they get married. So we whisked them away now to a recently refurbished grouse lodge, which is just over the hill, the other part of the farm. They can walk it or they can be driven to it. And that really has complemented Ballybeg.
Okay, so this is Grouse Lodge. This is going to be your hideaway after the party. And you can stay the night and the next night.
Even with the recent changes to wedding laws in Ireland, it's not guaranteed that a couple can get married on a farm or indeed in any other alternative venue. Strict regulations must be adhered to.
At the moment, we have blessings. I suppose 50–60% of the weddings here entail a blessing on the grounds. Normally, they get married maybe on the way down on Thursday morning in the local registry office. Now, with the change in legislation, it is possible for the registrar to come out if requested to by the couples who intend getting married. If the place is acceptable to the registrar, he can marry them in the house, not out on the grounds.
Each location must be approved in advance, but if a registrar isn't available to perform the ceremony on site, the couple may still be able to marry outside the registry office.
We're going to have a civil ceremony, so we're hoping to actually have the whole ceremony on site here with the registrar and then go on and have the meal afterwards.
Then Ballybeg House is going to be great for us for that day, and everything will be perfect, really, you know.
It is, after all, the most important day in their lives, you know, and they should choose very carefully where they're going to get married. We will do, and we are doing, all in our power to make sure their day is a very special day and a day that they will never forget.
If you were making the plunge again or today, would you be tempted yourself to get married here?
Well, if I was going to get married again, I'd have to ask my wife Mary, would she marry me again? If she said she would, I most certainly would get married here.